You're listening to The Granite Discourse, a New Hampshire-based podcast with real discussions. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And for early access, subscribe to Patreon for just $1 a month. Thank you, and enjoy the show. Linda McGrath.
Linda McGrath.
How you doing?
I'm doing awesome.
Thanks for coming today.
Thank you for asking me.
So I saw you on X. I think you started following me on there, and I read your bio on there. And what intrigued me was that it said that you had lost your job because you wouldn't give the COVID shot to children.
Yeah, so totally changed the trajectory of my life. I tell people all the time that I'm on a path that God has laid out for me.
When I saw that, I thought she probably has a story to tell.
I absolutely have a story to tell. So when COVID hit, and being a frontline worker and believing in vaccines, I was right up front getting my first 2 shots of the COVID shot. But at the same time, for a couple of years before that, I had been in a Make America Free Again group. And those people really are connected to what's going on, the truth. And so it made me question what was happening. And what really was the key to me becoming red-pilled, and I have to say it's funny because when I say that, it's amazing how many people don't know what red-pilled mean when I say that. You obviously must know the term.
I do. Can you explain to it what it means to you for people listening?
From The Matrix.
Yep.
When Neo is offered the blue pill or the red pill, and if you take the blue pill, you go back to sleep and everything is wonderful. But if you take the red pill, you wake up to what's really happening, the truth. And so my big red pill moment was when they were lying about ivermectin. So being a pharmacist, that was the job I lost. Like, why are they lying about how dangerous it is? And why are they telling people it's a horse medicine and you're an idiot if you take it? Like, yeah, they do use it for horses too, but it's a people medicine. And doctors were losing their license to practice medicine. And never in my 40 years has a doctor not been able to prescribe an approved medicine for an off-label use, which is what they were doing with ivermectin in COVID. And it didn't make any sense. Like they're lying and they're taking doctors' jobs away from them. Like, it's crazy. And then what made my head explode was when I found out that for Pfizer to get emergency use authorization for the vaccine, the federal law states there can be no other treatment. So they had to stop this from doctors from using it, because if it worked, then they wouldn't be able to make billions and billions of dollars. And so fast forward a little bit to the summer when they lowered the age that kids could start getting the COVID shot.
Is this 2021?
Yes. I couldn't live with myself injecting an experimental vaccine into children and then going home and laying in bed and thinking, oh my God, what did I just do?
Mm-hmm.
And also, I remember the day that a pregnant woman came in for the vaccine, and that's exactly what happened. I laid in bed thinking, oh my God, what did I do? And so I basically wrote a letter to Walmart where I'd been working, and I outlined what I had been finding out, which was not in this country, because everything was suppressed in this country, and that I wasn't going to be injecting children. And everything being new at the time, it took them 3 months of probably checking with their lawyers whether they could fire me or not. So for 3 months, I continued to work. They had a second pharmacist working with me at all times, which...
What, to keep an eye on you?
Well, no, in case a child came in, there would be somebody there to vaccinate them. And so after 3 months, they told me, the job is you have to vaccinate or you have to go. And so I lost my job, which I was very thankful for at the time, because we're all a slave to our debt. And at the time, I didn't have any debt. During COVID, I had been looking for a house to buy, and there was nothing on the market. I ended up in a year-round rental. And so if I had a big mortgage, I may have been injecting children and not being able to sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
And as it turns out, the year-round rental that I got is 3 houses away from Hampton Beach, and my kids and grandkids come over all the time because I live right near the beach. So that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that's happened, I keep thanking God. So when I lost my job, my sister had a cancer diagnosis, and I thought, I didn't have any debt. I thought, great, I'll take a year off. She had a 6 to 12 month diagnosis, and she was doing great after a year and a half. So I did end up getting a job 1 day a week with Rite Aid. I had told the district manager, there's just one thing, I won't inject kids with the COVID shot, which at that point I didn't want to inject anybody with the COVID shot. But he said, he got back to me and he said, well, I can't tell you it's okay, but it's okay with me, because they needed people.
Yeah.
So, and then in the first bankruptcy, he was gone. So nobody else knew the deal that I had made, but I was able to kind of tiptoe around all of that until they went through full bankruptcy. They went out of business like a year and a half ago.
How long were you a pharmacist for?
I graduated in 81.
Okay.
So over 40 years.
Okay. So obviously you know what to look for or anything that might raise your alert level. What were some of the things that you were finding? You said that you had seen some things or you've been reading some things. What were some of the things that you were finding about the COVID shot that made you not want to inject pregnant women? Well,
the first thing is it was experimental.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the time, I didn't know everything that I know now, but I could see it coming, perhaps. The fact that Pfizer knew that it caused myocarditis more commonly in teenage boys.
Yeah.
And hid that fact from everybody. As a matter of fact, after I went back to work with Rite Aid, I would sit down in the immunization room with people who came in for the shot, and I would take out the information sheet that we're required to give to everybody. And I would say, well, before I give you the shot, I just want to read you, there's a new warning on the sheet. And I would read about myocarditis and pericarditis and how it's more common in teenage boys. And, if you have any of these symptoms, to call the doctor right away. And I would say, are you okay with that? And they would say, oh, is that something new? And I would say, no, but they just didn't tell you about it before.
So when they first released it, were any of those warnings on the labels at all?
No, it was in the thousands of documents that they tried to bury for 70 years.
Right.
And the judge made them turn over the information that they had. So it wasn't until then that the information actually came out that they knew.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any firsthand experiences with the vaccine injured?
I don't.
No, I knew a friend of mine that was, I think he was scuba diving with a friend of his, and his buddy was probably 55 years old, and he had a heart attack while they were swimming, and this is probably 2022. So it was a little bizarre to have a 55, seemingly healthy 55-year-old have a heart attack while just swimming.
And some of the things that I had been reading, because I was talking to you earlier, I don't watch TV or go to the movies. I'm kind of a news junkie. Was there were over 1,000 athletes, young men, who were dropping dead on the playing field at that time.
Yeah.
And in 40 years, they didn't have that many as they had in 1 year.
I've heard that before.
And so, these are the things I'm learning. And so why I connected that. And we weren't hearing about it in this country. Thousands of young men, like physically fit, soccer players just dropping dead on the playing field. And that was not the year of COVID. It was after the rollout of the shots.
Yep.
And so one of the statistics, so in 2020, they have the insurance companies release what's called all-cause death numbers. And they have those numbers. They're required to report it to the government. And so the year of COVID, 2020, that number didn't go up. I mean, people may have died of COVID, say, rather than the flu, but there was not more people dying during the first year of COVID.
Yeah, but the flu numbers pretty much disappeared.
Right. So it kind of balanced.
But then people say that nobody got the flu because they were wearing a mask. But if it worked for the flu, why wouldn't it work for COVID? If they work at all.
Good question. So in 2021, which is the year of the shot, started in the beginning of the year, this wasn't reported either. The insurance companies released their all-cause death numbers. And now remember, these numbers are mostly younger people who are employed and have life insurance. So this is like 18-year-olds to 60-year-olds. All-cause death for that group went up 40%.
I remember when that came out.
And they say it's like a Vietnam War happened to this age group. And nobody questioned it. Like, where was the alarm bells and the warnings and maybe we should stop and see what's going on here, what's causing this.
What was it like working in a pharmacy when COVID first started?
It was...
What was it like before, during, and then?
Yeah. So, I mean, before, working in a pharmacy is crazy. You're just busy all the time. You're never caught up. You never have enough help. So then when COVID hit, it was kind of the same. More people came in their pajamas, though.
Oh, really?
I mean, people come in their pajamas at Walmart all the time, but it seemed like people weren't even getting out of their pajamas, during COVID. They weren't going anywhere. They were home all the time. Once the vaccine came out, then it was inject as many people as fast as you can. And like I said in the beginning, I thought that was amazing. We had this new vaccine. I believed in vaccines. I mean, we were just injecting, and everybody was trying to get the vaccine. Everybody thought, if I could just get the vaccine. But, first it was the healthcare workers and it was the elderly. So people had to wait. we would make appointments. So it was crazy. And then once I got red pilled and I realized how much money the pharmacy was making, and there was no stopping that. There was no stopping to look at the side effects. There was no stopping the money train, I called it.
Did you bring the side effects up to other pharmacists?
I did. When I finally said I'm not injecting kids, I worked for 3 more months, I was not quiet. As a matter of fact, I started going to my selectmen meetings, and I've never done that before, but it's awesome. Everybody has 3 minutes during public comment to say anything they want. And I probably went a dozen times and said, please don't inject your children with the COVID shot. And so that's how I ended up running for state rep.
What did the other pharmacists think when you were bringing all this up?
So again, I didn't have any debt.
Yep.
They all had families, mortgages, and I think most of them were like, well, somebody's going to give them the shot.
Were they worried about the side effects?
No, because if you went online, if you didn't look outside of the news bubble that they created, it's safe and effective.
Yeah.
CDC, FDA, you couldn't find any negative articles.
Where were you finding them?
In news outside of this country. So I said, I'm a news junkie, so.
So that was your transformation to get into politics?
Yes, so that all the crazy stuff that happened during COVID could never happen again. I mean, it wasn't just the forced vaccinations, It was the crazy masking and the one-way aisles up and down the grocery store and closing our churches and letting the liquor stores stay open and arresting people for being on the beach by themselves. Like the government was out of control.
Do you feel like people have forgotten about this already?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you ran for state rep, is this your first term?
It is.
Okay, so you won in 2024. When did you start campaigning? Like, when did you decide I want to run for state representative? Was it 2023, 2024?
I probably started, I've been active in politics, but I didn't decide to run till that year, 2024.
Okay. What kind of activism did you do in politics before?
So when I moved to Hampton and I couldn't find a house to buy, I started a Constitution study group to meet new people through the Republican Women's Group. And it kept getting bigger and bigger. It was a 23-week YouTube series, and every week we'd watch a 30-minute video, and people would bring their friends. And I kept saying, God has brought us together for a reason. And the first thing that we got involved in was to try to get rid of the voting machines and hand count our ballots, which didn't pass. We did a warrant article, and then got involved with the Hampton GOP group, and we got a lot of the Seacoast GOP groups to work together, have events together, and it was really a great ride. All of the people on the Seacoast were all close, we're good friends. Yeah, it's awesome.
So that group started growing, and then when did you realize you might have enough support to become a state rep to win a race?
I don't know that I knew I had the support. The floterial seat opened up for Hampton and Seabrook, and somebody called me and asked me to run for it. And I said yes. So I had no idea what I was doing. And as it turns out, Seabrook is more red. So I had a better chance of winning than if I had just run for Hampton.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a primary. One of the former police chiefs in Hampton ran against me, and I won by 1 vote.
Wow.
We had a recount, yeah. I won by 2. He asked for a recount, and he cut my lead in half. So I won by 1. I made some national news, too. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
Every vote counts.
They really do, yeah, because there was a special election up in Berlin. I think the Republican won by 7.
I was up there door knocking.
Yep. Yeah. So since you've been in there, what has been some of the legislation that you've worked on or have presented?
So I'm in a caucus, the Republican Vaccine Injury Caucus.
Okay.
And we went over different bills that we wanted to get passed. And there were a couple that I said I would sponsor. So last week they just hit the floor and they both passed. So one is medical free speech. So when doctors were losing their license for prescribing ivermectin, like that was an impetus for that bill. And the other one is no vaccine clinics in schools unless parents are present.
Mm-hmm.
And the impetus for that one was there are documented cases of children getting accidentally vaccinated, even though their vaccine form said do not vaccinate.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens with those. But that was exciting. My first 2 bills just passed.
I had interviewed Melissa Blasick on when I was at the Liberty Forum a couple weekends ago.
Sure, yep.
And she was talking about that, and I put a clip of that on the internet and on TikTok. People are just in disbelief that is something that even is a thing. Some people just refuse to believe it, and they just think it's a lie. But I learned about the school health clinics that they want to put in about a year ago. I never knew anything about those before.
It's new.
Yeah. And I think New Hampshire is one of the last ones that doesn't have them.
Right.
Do you think that they will, do you think we'll be keeping them out of New Hampshire?
Well,
how much pressure is there to put them in?
It's all about money.
Yeah.
So the Republicans have a 40-seat majority. And this is something else I definitely want to talk about while I'm here, is that we have a really good chance this year to get a U.S. senator, a U.S. representative, and a supermajority in the House up in Concord, because Turning Point Action is coming to New Hampshire with Chase the Vote. And so this path that I'm on, that God has laid out for me, not only am I a state representative, but now I'm also a Chase the Vote Seacoast manager.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so exciting, this organization. They've proven that Chase the Vote works. They've done this in the swing states for Trump, probably got Trump elected.
Can you explain what Chase the Vote is?
It's getting your low propensity Republican voter to the polls. And because they've proven that this works, money is coming in. Because they have the money, they're targeting Nevada, Arizona, and New Hampshire. And they need to do that to make up for Wisconsin, because they think they're going to lose the electoral votes there. And so we're talking millions of dollars. So my job as the Seacoast manager is there's 20 towns that have been identified in my territory. Each of those towns has 600 to 1,400 low propensity Republican voters. And I'm going to be hiring somebody from each town full time to not just knock on their door and tell them they have to vote because they're a low propensity voter. That is not going to work. Their goal is to build a relationship with them. So it's not about running around knocking on as many doors as possible. It's about, hopefully knocking on their door and maybe having a cup of coffee with them or inviting them to an event in town. And so at the end of the day, which will be November, getting them to the polls. And so this is a great year to run for state rep. If anybody's interested, I absolutely will tell you that if we get out those voters, those low propensity Republican voters, to vote for the U.S. Senate, because that's Turning Point's goal, but it's going to go right down. All of the Republicans should get the votes when we get those people to the polls.
Yeah, it could be a tough year where it's a midterm. The Republicans don't seem to show up as much during midterms, so
exactly,
it's really perfect timing that they are doing that Turning Point. So how has the reception been? Like, how all the work that you've been doing as the Seacoast manager, are you getting a lot of responses?
So anybody who hears Turning Point is really excited.
Yep.
Everybody was hurt when Charlie was killed, assassinated. Everybody felt that inside. And so they want to support Turning Point. So far, I have 5 people identified. 3, I have offer letters going out, and 2 more are going to apply. And if anybody is interested in a full-time job, we're hiring across the state.
Yeah.
So,
but right now you have 15 seats left.
Right.
Okay.
And Turning Point also wants you to live in that town.
Yeah.
Because when you knock on the door,
it's a familiar face.
It's your neighbor.
Yeah.
You're not somebody from Washington who they've hired to come in and knock on doors in your town. One of the things when I went out to Arizona for training that Tyler Boyer, who's the COO of Turning Point, said is that and Turning Point's going to be in New Hampshire through the presidential election. If we're not in charge of the census in 2030, that's it. The Democrats will rig it so we never win another election.
By redistricting?
By counting people.
Okay.
Supposedly, the Democrats have 40 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, more than they should have.
How did they get 40 more?
By counting people. I don't know the answer. I'm assuming by miscounting people is probably a better way to put it.
This is where immigration policy would come in. This is one of the biggest problems with having an open border for several years during the Biden administration.
Right.
And probably for the last 20 or 30 years. Like, we've had amnesty bills that have come forward before that. What happens is it seems like people come here illegally, and it's so overwhelming that the government seems to just pass some sort of amnesty to let them stay. And then then they end up voting for Democrats. So the cities have become more blue. The urban areas have become more blue. But the rural areas are still kind of holding strong, it looks like, if you look at the map, but they're not as densely populated.
Right.
So I think that's probably one of the driving forces as to why we've seen liberalism spreading in this country over the last several decades.
And the schools. Some of the things that I see coming out of the schools. I just saw on X a post of an art wall at a school that was covered with anti-Trump, including assassination. Like, this is crazy how they're telling our kids political sides of a story when that shouldn't even be in the schools at all.
The colleges have been lost for a long time.
Yeah.
We've had liberal teachers in colleges just kind of turning out communists for like generations now.
And really,
and now those kids that come out of there, they're teaching in public schools too. There's a lot of activist teachers.
Yeah,
not to attack teachers or public schools, but that when you see kids staging walkouts,
yeah,
they're being influenced by someone, and it's usually someone in that school, and it's usually a teacher.
And yeah, that's not something we should be letting our kids do.
No, they should be there to learn.
Especially when their test scores are going down so dramatically.
Yeah. Let's focus on that.
Exactly. Educational excellence. Let's focus on that.
So as a pharmacist, going back to the COVID era, you saw a lot of medications like ivermectin not being prescribed. When you feel like as a pharmacist that those were helping people that had COVID.
So anecdotally, looking at it around the world, it absolutely was helping people. India was giving it to all of their police officers. They were giving it to people in their big cities. Japan was doing the same. In Africa, almost everybody takes ivermectin every week to prevent river blindness. Mm-hmm. And COVID wasn't a problem in Africa. Like, anecdotally, it was.
So taking it every day won't kill you, won't hurt you?
No, it's one of the safest drugs out there.
Yeah.
And so I believe thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not more, people died needlessly. And it was showing promise if you take it early. So once you get to the hospital and you're really sick, it didn't show as much promise.
But they told people when they would go to a clinic, when they would get COVID, just take, I know somebody that had this exact scenario, just take Mucinex until you can't breathe, then go to the hospital. And by then it's too late. That's when they would be put on a ventilator and then they would die. And
they were, yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. And people had just moved on from it. If you even bring up COVID now, I think that people want to pretend that what was going on was necessary. Because I see it all the time in my comments whenever I have somebody on the show that talks about COVID, or I had Kristen Noble on. She talked about the mask bill that she put forward, and so many comments about, well, would you rather have dead kids? And it's like kids weren't dying from COVID. People
That's
still believe that.
That's exactly right. In Sweden was the only country that did not lock down. Their kids went to school. No kids died.
Yeah. And I don't know, the programming got through to him pretty well because he still believed that. There was so much propaganda,
But it's got to be really hard because, especially if you convinced your loved one to get the shot and they died of a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
To admit that it was from the shot would be devastating.
Mm-hmm. There's an increase in cancers among young people now that they've never seen before.
Yeah, turbo cancers.
Yeah, that's what they're calling it.
And also problems with women reproducing. Countries that have had the highest rate of immunization, their birth rates are way down.
one of the other things that was a new term I never heard of before was SADS, sudden adult death syndrome. That was a new thing that they tried selling us.
And that was the athletes dropping dead. That's exactly...
Perfectly healthy people that shouldn't be dropping dead.
Not just healthy people. These are the healthiest people on the planet. I mean, these are athletes.
Yeah. It's crazy. And so what are your views on like the flu shot? Did it change what you saw, what you went through? Did it change your views on any other
So funny
vaccines?
Story. I have some friends that I've had a long time. Some are state reps with me. They've been there a long time. And I remember one of them, we were working on the Ted Cruz campaign together. And he would talk about he was an anti-vaxxer. And I would say, you sound like an idiot.
What year is this?
This when he was running in 2016, I guess.
Okay, so this was a while ago.
Yeah. And, now looking back, I don't know what to believe, but I don't trust Big Pharma. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, it's always been the left who didn't trust Big Pharma, right?
Yeah.
And now they trust them like with everything they have.
Yeah, the pendulum really swung there.
Right? And so I don't know, like, will I get the flu shot? I won't. If I had an elderly parent, I don't know if I would tell them to get the flu shot or not. I mean, especially if they do an mRNA flu shot, which I would definitely say no, but it's not right now.
I think the Make America Healthy Again initiative, didn't they just cut the amount of shots a child gets in the first year in half?
They did, but a lot of states have basically come out and made their own recommendations.
Which they can do.
Yeah. And so, again, if you're a parent, who do you believe? Like, I don't want to be the one telling parents what to believe, but I will tell them, do your own homework. And one of the tools that just came out was the new documentary, An Inconvenient Study, with Del Bigtree and Aaron Seary. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, you've got to watch that. So they have been trying to get somebody to do this study for years, and nobody would do it. They finally found a doctor, I think it was Johns Hopkins, big medical center, to do a retrospective study. So basically, to look back at your records, separate the vaccinated kids and the unvaccinated kids, look at all of their, billing, what did they go to the hospital for? What chronic conditions do they have? And their only stipulation for this doctor was whatever outcome you get is to publish it. And of course, the doctor didn't think it was going to turn out the way it did, which was devastating. Vaccinated children are over 4 times more likely to have chronic diseases. And the chronic disease epidemic in our kids is something we should be taking very, very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he wouldn't publish it. So what they did is they met him to try to convince him to publish it, and they had a hidden camera. So he's basically saying, it's a great study. There's nothing I would have changed, but I'm too chicken to publish it, was basically it.
Yeah.
And so where are the other big now, retrospective studies doesn't mean it's definitive, but the signals are blaring. And where is the follow-up to that?
Right.
Why isn't the government getting involved to make these other big health centers look at their studies and find out why we have this epidemic of chronic disease?
There was a controversy about 10 years, I think it was about 10 years ago. It might have even been longer, but there was something to do with the hepatitis B vaccine in African American kids, that male African American kids had a higher risk of developing autism because of the hepatitis B vaccine, and that they knew that in the early 90s and they buried it. And I think it was either the CDC or the FDA. It might have been the FDA that buried it, and that came out like 10 years ago. And it's just another thing that they don't. It's like untouchable.
Well, it's a money train.
I think the tide's turning, though.
I think it is, because people are becoming aware.
Yeah.
Not fast enough. Again, parents, like, do your own homework.
Yeah. Would you get a lot of worried parents that would ask you questions as a pharmacist?
No, because before I was red-pilled, before COVID, most people didn't question it. Like I said, my friend, I said he sounded stupid.
Yeah.
But he was looking at this stuff before most people.
Yeah.
Even including me as a pharmacist, a medical professional. So interestingly, I was asked to speak at a high school, and there was a political science club. So it was like 70 kids there. It was a private high school. And the woman who asked me to speak had seen some of what I had said or published and wanted a little bit of the other side, because everything was a little left, all the speakers. And so I kind of presented the whole vaccine thing that I just talked about with you. And one of the students asked me, well, you were a pharmacist in the 80s. And so when the opioid crisis was going on, why didn't you speak out? And I said to him twice, that is such a good question, because I'm here to tell you all to question everything. When the opioid crisis was going on, and I was repeating what Big Pharma told me, oh, if you take these pain medicine for pain, you won't get addicted to them. Like, I was repeating what they told me to say. And somewhere in the back of my head, I thought, that's weird. Like, these are addictive drugs. But I didn't question it.
Yeah, they were non-addictive opioids, which went completely against the old way of thinking.
Yeah. And so I'm just, again, so thankful to God that I was connected to the Make America Free Again group that was giving me all this information that I would not have seen. Doctors that, you don't just Google it and they pop up.
Do you remember what that kid said to you after you replied to him with that?
Well, I basically, my message was question everything. Like, yeah. I don't think that he replied again. But there was a lot of kids who were not willing to hear what I had to say. They were questioning me very pointedly. And that's okay. That was great.
This is a private school, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it generally known to be a more liberal school?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How many of them, like, what was the percentage of them that questioned you like that?
Well, most of the questions, I would say, came from a place of they didn't believe me.
Yeah.
And that was, like I said, like, I was able to, put the information out there. I think the last person who questioned me, I think one of the last things that I said was, all I know is that last month, 5 high school boys died suddenly, and that's not normal.
Yeah. No, it's not. I remember when they said it was 100% effective, and then people started getting sick, so they were calling it breakthrough cases. And then I saw a documentary about, or it might have been a movie about the opioid crisis. It was about OxyContin, And when people were taking OxyContin and they started getting more pain even after they were doing it because they were building up a tolerance to it, they would call that breakthrough pain. So that's like a term or a terminology that they seem to use when what they're saying isn't happening. Like when they say this is going to work and then it doesn't work, they just come back with something else.
Like the long COVID. I don't believe it's long COVID. I believe it's side effects from the shot.
I haven't even heard that in a long time. They just don't talk about it anymore. It's like it never existed. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that we'd ever have another COVID where they could convince everybody that you need to...
I think we could have another COVID, but there's going to be so many people who say, I will not comply.
Yeah.
I
hope so.
Yeah.
I think a lot of young kids, like I talked to Sam Farrington.
Yeah.
And
Sam's awesome. Sam is also a Turning Point Action area manager.
Is he?
Yes.
That's good.
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I asked him, I said, so how, because he's only 22. I said, how'd you become a state rep? Like, what got you involved? And he said, I went through high school when COVID happened. And that pretty much changed him, or radicalized him enough to the point where he would run. So I think a lot of people did kind of get off their butts and start getting more involved. But like I said, there's a lot of people that got that vaccine.
So many people would come in and say, I don't want it, but I have to get it for work. Or I have to get it because I'm going to my son's wedding, or I have to get it to travel or to go on vacation.
Families that force their loved ones to get it just to go out in an outing or something like that. That's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened to the my body, my choice people? That went out the window.
Hypocrisy. That's what drives me the craziest.
How much pushback have you had, like, at your, like, being in the position that you're in as a state representative from, like, local people that would oppose you? Like, when you go for re-election, I'm sure you're going to have somebody that you have to run against locally. As a pharmacist who went through this change, I mean, are you subject to attack by the opposition because a pharmacist that's gone against the vaccine?
No, face to face, I haven't come across anything. I mean, social media is another story where if I put things out there, and mostly what I put out is events.
Yeah.
That if it's political, that they might push back. The funny thing is so I've been doing a movie night once a month in Hampton.
Okay.
And I call it the Free Thinkers Film Club. And this past month, it was the 10 Commandments. And I showed the Dennis Prager 5-minute videos on each of the 10 Commandments. And we talked about it in between. That got the most pushback from people. They went crazy.
Why?
I don't know. I have a new nickname now, Looney Linda.
Oh, really?
And I just ignore the people on social media. I posted help wanted with Turning Point. Some people totally went crazy. Get her off of here. But
on a group, on like a help wanted group?
That one was on one of the Rye, New Hampshire pages.
Really?
Yeah.
They
went crazy.
They were talking about a Turning Point chapter in, I don't think it's called Turning Point for the high school groups.
Club America.
Yeah. Somebody posted that in the Wolfboro group, and a bunch of people called them white supremacists, Nazis.
Yeah.
And that was like a month after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. What was it like going down to the headquarters of Turning Point?
It was great. The best thing about Turning Point is the people. They're so motivated. They're happy to be doing what they're doing. That was the best. The most moving part was there's different buildings, and one of the buildings just houses all of the items that people left for Charlie when he died. And so many of them are handmade and have inspiring messages. And the whole room is just filled with paintings and crosses, and it's pretty incredible.
Now, somebody that comes to work with you, would they have to go to the headquarters to
No, actually, Turning Point is opening up a office in Manchester in one of the mill buildings.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's right overlooking the river. Very soon, we're going to be having a big party a christening. I haven't seen it yet. I don't even think Lisa Mazer, who's the state director for Chase the Vote, I don't even think that she's seen it yet.
She's also a state representative
as well. Yeah.
So how many people involved in Turning Point are state reps?
Well, so Lisa's the state director, and there's 7 areas.
Okay.
3 of us are state reps, myself, Sam Farrington, and James Tebow, who's the youngest member right now up there. He's amazing. And Senator Victoria Sullivan is also one of the area managers. And then there's 2 other people that they hired that are not in the state government, but they're awesome.
Yeah, I think there's Davis. I've met him.
So that's a different side of Turning Point. Turning Point has the nonprofit side.
Yep.
Chase the Vote is a 501c4.
Okay.
Which I'm not really... So if you donate to the legacy side, that's deductible. But what we're doing, it's not deductible.
Okay.
So we're allowed to do other things. I'm not really that versed on that.
Okay.
But Davis is awesome.
Yeah. No, everybody I've met at Turning Point, they've all been very nice. So when did you start with them?
Very recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been an amazing journey. I haven't even hired my first person yet. We have a request to put in the offer letter. So right now, I am just networking like crazy, going to as many events as I can, talking to all the people I know, trying to convince them to help me find the right person because it's going to help their town get the vote out. And again, anybody who's looking for a full-time job anywhere in the state, we've got one for you.
How has it been on your first term as a state representative?
I love it.
Do you?
Like for $100 a year, I always tell people you're getting your money's worth out of the people who are up there. There are so many incredibly smart people. You've probably had them here.
Got a bunch, yeah.
I feel like I don't even compare to most of them. And I always tell people, like, there's different levels for $100 a year. You could just go on Thursday and make sure you're there for the vote. You could be on a committee. I'm on Health and Human Services. So that's another day of the week you have to be up in Concord. You could file bills. That's another way, another step, more time to get involved. You could read all 1,400 bills. It's crazy. But some people that are up there actually do read all of them. So they're just so smart, really good people up there. I love that I sit in the back row because we probably talk too much. We have way too much fun. So yeah, it's been an awesome experience, and I am going to be running again.
How many of the 1,400 bills have you read?
So I focus on the Health and Human Services bills because we have public hearings on them. That is what we focus on. So when we're in session on Thursdays, we take the recommendations of the committees.
Right.
because they're the experts on their bills.
Yeah.
So mostly just the Health and Human Services one.
And how many Health and Human Services bills are there?
Oh, altogether? I don't know the answer to that.
Last week was a busy week. There was about 200 bills that got voted on, right?
Well, those were all the bills that had made it out of committee.
Yeah.
And we needed to finish. So we had an extra day up there Wednesday. So we were up there voting Wednesday and Thursday. That was pretty crazy because we were trying to get through 200 bills and the Democrats were trying to slow everything down. What was going on? I haven't talked to anybody about that, except for I've seen some posts on social media. So how'd that go down? What was happening there? So the first thing that we did was we voted to limit debate. So normally when a bill comes on the floor, people can get up and talk really for as long as they want, even though everybody hates when they go over 3 minutes. And then they have the PI where people just get up for like a couple of statements. That's when they say, Mr. Speaker, if I knew that this bill would be good for blah, blah, blah. So
PI means Parliament Inquiry, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we voted to have no debate on any of the bills. And it was interesting because there was a lot of Republicans that every once in a while comes up to limit debate because some of the bills, the Democrats have like 10 people ready to get up and talk. But they don't vote to limit debate because we want people to be able to talk. But in this case, it was really about obstruction. And I get it. Like that was their job to slow us down. So we passed a new rule to limit debates. It was only PIs. But then what happens is the Democrats could come up and make a motion to either table it, so then we have to vote on that first, or to special order a bill that they have, so then we have to vote on that. So they just kept coming up with motion after motion after motion after motion.
What was their incentive to prolong this?
Well, what happened was because there was no way we were going to get through 200 bills in 2 days, the speaker had all of the ought to pass bills first. So that means those were all the bills that came out of Republican committees that we want to pass. And all the inexpedient to legislate bills were all the bills the Democrats wanted to pass, and the Republican committees voted, we don't want to pass those. So, our job was to get these bills passed, and their job was to stop us from getting these bills passed.
And then they wanted to try and put their bills in.
Right.
Okay. So, because there was some outcry about eliminating debate.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I get it. And normally we would not have done that.
Yeah.
But they weren't really acting in good faith, maybe.
Now,
so there was a lot of people, like all the Republicans were okay with doing it.
Was there a session this week?
This week? No. Next week we have one again.
So why didn't they just have a session this week?
Oh, that's an excellent question. So the week before, we voted to extend the deadline so that we could meet again this week. But the Democrats voted against that.
Okay, so they didn't want to add another day the following week, but then they wanted to...
So I don't know what their thinking was. I can't even guess.
Well, just disruption, it sounds like.
Yeah.
If they can't get... they're in the minority. It's not like they're going to get anything they really want passed.
Right. They had a couple of wins in 2 days. I don't remember, but...
200 bills is a lot of bills to even remember any of them.
Yeah.
Because I've talked to people and asked them about bills that they've put forward and they don't even remember.
And it's funny because most days with all of the speeches and stuff, I could get work done on my computer. But those 2 days last week, everything was happening so fast. You had to really pay attention.
How long did those days last? They were long days, weren't
So
they?
the first day we ended, I think, at 8:30.
Yeah.
And when they got up to end the session, the Democrats were going crazy because I think they thought we were going to go till like 4 a.m. And I had gotten a hotel room because there was all kinds of rumors. Nobody knew when it would end. And it's so funny because I laugh with people. I said, I spent my $100 a year to get this hotel room.
Yep.
Didn't even pay for half of it.
Wow. And that comes out of your pocket. So
Yeah.
Is there a time? Is there a time limit? Like, do you have to be done by midnight or?
No, apparently there was a session, I don't know how many years ago, where they were there till 4 a.m.
I heard that they stopped the clock. Somebody told me that recently, that there's a clock in the State House, and instead of, because they were supposed to be done by a certain time.
Oh, interesting. So they just pretended it was still midnight. Or something.
Yeah.
That's funny.
A lot of people say their first term is like drinking from a fire hose. Would you say that? Would you agree with that?
It was definitely a big learning curve.
Yeah.
I did not feel overwhelmed. There's so many people up there that are so helpful. So I'm sitting in the back, and so there were often times, not so much anymore, where I'd be like, what just happened? Because somebody will make a motion and then all of a sudden we're voting and I don't even know what's going on.
Did you feel like you couldn't miss anything or you didn't want to miss anything?
I have 100% attendance. I haven't missed anything because I love it.
Yeah. So of what is the thing that you love the most?
It's the people.
The people?
Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. The people are just, they're quirky. There's so many different kinds of people up there. It's just awesome.
You get along with most of the Democrats? So
the two Democrats I sit next to in Health and Human Services, I love them. We get along great. I don't have a lot of interaction with the Democrats because, except for really the ones I sit next to, as far as being able to chit chat, I like to talk to people. They do have a program. I don't know who funds it, where you can sign up and they match you with a Democrat and you can go out to lunch or dinner with them.
Oh, really?
Which I did once, and that was awesome. We had a great conversation. So, it is, I feel like it is what you make it. Just like as much time as you put into it, as much cross the aisle as you want to put into it. It's hard because they vote as a block almost always. So, how do you even convince somebody to vote your way when, the controversial bills in Health and Human Services are almost all 10-8. In the House, the controversial bills, there's some bills that the Republicans are split on, but the Democrats mostly all vote as a block. There's a few that sometimes don't, but that's kind of rare. So, do you expend your effort doing that, trying to convince them? I don't know. There are some people that do. I haven't even been to the Senate yet. So both of my bills are going to the Senate, and I have to learn how to connect with the senators.
Who's your senator?
My senator is Deborah Altshuler, but I'm talking about the Republican senators who hopefully will support my bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will give her a call. She's a nice lady, but she's not generally on my, on our side of the issue.
Yeah. Have you ever taken a tour of the State House?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Have you done the tour of the, is it Dan McGuire does the tour there, and I went through that.
I want to bring my grandkids up.
Yeah. How old are your grandkids?
10, 9, 7, 7, 5, and 4.
Yeah, they'd love that.
Yeah.
Because I did the tour when I was down there not too long ago, and there's a lot of history in that building.
Oh, that building is gorgeous. And the oldest, still original functioning building for our state Congress, I believe.
Oh, really?
I think so, yeah.
I think he said something about there's a copy of the U.S. Constitution there, too.
I think it came through. I don't think it stays there.
Oh, okay. I thought they sent one to every state when they signed it. They sent like an authentic copy.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So how much time do you think that you spend down there in Concord?
So 2 days a week, committee, Health and Human Services, and voting day.
Yeah.
I did go up there a couple of extra days because I presented for a friend of mine a couple of bills for election law, but they didn't go anywhere. I will be going up extra because I have to present these 2 bills to the Senate. So
Have you spoken at the well?
I have.
How's that?
I have. It's so cool. So I used to have a little trouble speaking in front of groups where, your heart would start beating and you'd be sweating and, I think when I started speaking at the selectmen meeting,
Yeah.
that kind of got me over that, and I'm good now. I love it.
Do you still go to your selectmen meetings?
I haven't gone recently.
No. How about like your school board meetings as a state rep?
Yeah, I haven't done. I'm involved with the Hampton GOP.
Okay.
The state politics. The town politics is something I haven't really gotten really involved with. I'm hoping other people handle all of that and I can just focus on the state because I do have 6 grandkids. I have a full-time job now. I got a lot going on. Yeah. Which is awesome.
So the full-time job you're doing, is that still pharmaceutical?
No, Turning Point Action.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's full-time for you.
I have always wanted to do something besides pharmacy, but when you have a good job, to leave it to do something else is hard.
Yeah.
And so I am so thankful to be doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that website that you have on X, is that your Turning Point Chase the Vote website in your bio?
The Seacoast Rising website is my own.
Okay. Now, do you want to tell people about that?
So the reason I called it Seacoast Rising was because when I got involved with the Hampton GOP and we expanded and we really came together as all of the Seacoast GOPs. So when I got a new email address, Linda at Seacoast Rising, I chose that thinking that, maybe we'll use it as a basis for all of the Seacoast GOPs. And even though we do still work together, that's just the name that I picked.
That website.
Yeah, for that.
It's because I when I was researching you, I looked at that website. It's a pretty good looking website.
Yeah, it is nice.
Yeah.
I just had it redone.
So from what I've seen, you've been, even before Turning Point, you've been pretty active. And that's why I wanted to have you on here, because it's good to see people that are that involved in politics, and then to see that you've gone from all these transitions that you made to where you are now. It's really interesting.
Anybody can do it.
Anybody can.
Yeah, anybody.
Yeah. What would be the best advice you would have for somebody that's kind of on the fence about that type of stuff? Like, what would be the biggest words of encouragement?
So, you mean on the fence about getting involved?
Yeah, at any level.
Well, first of all, you're going to make lifelong friends. And that's the best part. Whether in Hampton, the Seacoast area GOPs, they're all my best friends. Up in Concord now, best friends. But also, like, now's the time. It's now or never if we're going to save this country.
Why now?
If we don't control the presidential election in 2028 and we don't control the census in 2030, we're never going to win another election. And so you get involved, you make your best friends, you help save the country. And the other piece about being best friends with Republicans is you don't have to censor your speech, which with certain people certain relatives that I have, friends that I have, you can't talk about whatever you want to talk about. Because you don't want to trigger them, or they're going to not be your friend, or not, or cut you out of their life because all the name calling, right? Because you're a homophobe, or you're a fascist, or you're a Nazi, or you're a whatever phobe it is. And so you can just be yourself.
When do you think that started? When did you first notice that?
That's a good question. I mean, Trump derangement syndrome is when it just blew up. And actually now, there's turning point derangement syndrome. Because turning point is so effective, and whenever anybody is effective, people who don't want them to be so effective try to tear them down, turn people away from them. And so it's a real thing, turning point derangement syndrome. What they're doing online to Erica Kirk is disgusting. And apparently, like, she doesn't even go on social media anymore because it's so horrific. Some of the lies that they tell about her. I think I just read today that they're suing somebody for saying that she was providing girls to Epstein or something like that.
The Epstein thing has just been turned into this thing that it's like anybody you don't like is now part of the Epstein conspiracy. And I think the Epstein files should be released and unredacted. And everybody should be able to see what was going on. But I do understand that, like, there's people in there that might not have done anything wrong.
Right.
Now you're putting their name out there because, I mean, he knew everybody. So anybody could have had any association with him.
Sure.
But now it's almost been weaponized. And
he was giving money to politicians, right?
Yeah.
So I got my first PAC donation. And I said, oh my God, I don't know this guy. Like,
was it Jeffrey Epstein?
No. It was not Jeffrey Epstein, no. But, I did a little research into it, and I was nervous. I was really nervous about it. It turns out he's with the term limits.
Yep.
And so I was like, oh, I'll vote for term limits every time. So I deposited the check.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do you think about term limits, though? Because I don't think I support term limits. I think that with term limits, I mean, we have term limits on the presidency, and the presidency hasn't really been that we haven't had the greatest presidents, I don't think. And I think that if we have term limits in the House and in the Senate, that you'll kind of just see a revolving door of suits that are just paid big money by big donors to you won't see the Ron Pauls, the Rand Pauls, the Thomas Masseys, I mean, even if you're a liberal, you won't, like Bernie Sanders wouldn't be there, like the populists on the left. There's a lot of influential people that have done a lot of good, I think, for like the liberty movement that's what interests me the most. Like, I don't know if we had term limits the whole time, if we'd even know who Ron Paul was, and I think that he is credited to, I think a lot of what we're seeing right now, like the actual turning point in this country where people are becoming more conservative and questioning the government more, I would attribute that more to Ron Paul than anybody. Because everything seemed like it was just Coke versus Pepsi in politics prior to that. I think so that's the only thing I disagree with on term limits. I mean, if you support them, I'm not.
Well, I'm in a Liberty chat, and it's awesome because they debate everything.
Yeah.
And I'm learning. And like, I've always been for the death penalty. But after reading the Liberty chat, I think they've convinced me not to be for the death penalty. So the debate on the term limits also, like, I get it. I get both sides.
Yeah.
And it could go well and it could go badly. I get that.
Yeah.
I think that doing the same thing you've always done and expecting different results is, whether it's the schools, whether it's the trying new things isn't necessarily bad. It could be. You're right. It could be.
Something that's funny about what you just said of the death penalty is I've always been against the death penalty for the reason that the state shouldn't be able to just kill people, but since having kids, like, I think that, there's certain people in our society that we just don't need, that, the murderers and child molesters and the rapists, like, that's kind of changed me. So I've gone from because I understand the liberty argument of being anti-death penalty, but as a father, now I'm pro-death penalty. I'm just like, okay, well, if somebody
and if you read the Old Testament, God's all for putting murderers to death.
Right. So it's funny that they flipped you.
Well, I'm still on the fence. I get both sides of the story.
Yeah, I like what Florida did with it, with the death penalty. Like, pretty much if you're caught, like, molesting a kid under 12 or 13 or something like that, like, it's right to the chair for you.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, they have a harsh death penalty now, which I don't remember when New Hampshire got rid of it. I don't think it was that long ago. But there are arguments against it, like financially. It's more of a financial burden, I've heard, to put somebody to death than to just put them in jail for life.
And that shouldn't be the issue, right? The issue should be, what do we do with him? What's the right thing to do?
Because some people, if they're in prison long enough, they just get out.
Massachusetts is letting all kinds of criminals out. Have you seen that?
I haven't heard anything about it lately.
Yes, lately. Murderers, like crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, that's what communist states do when they're in decline. They always release the criminals. The Russians did it. The Nazis did it. Scary times that we could be facing in this country, and I think that COVID was a good example of what there could be to come, because people talk about fascism, and like, I know we were just talking about the death penalty, but I mean, if somebody's tried and convicted and there's an actual trial and it's proven without a reasonable doubt that they murdered somebody or did something horrific, then so be it. But when you go to a society that just kind of, like, I just finished reading The Russian Revolution by Richard Pipes, and he was talking about the Red Terror that went on for a couple of years, where they just killed thousands of people, and they were allowing the Cheka to just abduct people and kill them. Like they were judge, jury, and executioner, and that's when things get out of hand. We could potentially see that, I think, at some point where the power that was wielded during COVID was just people were ratting out their neighbors just for not wearing masks. Like if people get to the point where they're so scared that they think it's life or death, like they will give all power to the government. And that's the future that we have to worry about coming to reality.
So Dennis Prager, who's one of my heroes, he's so smart, has said he could never understand how the Germans went along with the Holocaust until COVID.
Yeah.
And then he saw how easy it was for people to say, you shouldn't even treat that person in the hospital because they didn't get the shot. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
That they just, what you were saying.
Mass psychosis.
Yes. Mass psychosis. That's what they call it.
Yeah. And that was quick. It was real quick. I mean, they started locking things down in March, and I think the vaccine came out in January.
January, yeah. Yeah.
And people had no problem saying, like, they put it all on the news. There were people on CNN saying that if you weren't vaccinated, then you shouldn't get any medical assistance.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. And it's dehumanization. And
if it happens again, I'm going to print shirts for everybody that says, I will not comply.
Have you always been a Republican?
I have. My dad grew up with a single mom and two brothers. And that was before, government safety nets.
Yeah.
And they had paper routes, when they were 6 or 7, and they always gave their money to their mom. They put newspapers in their shoes that had holes in them. I mean, personal responsibility and hard work, like, that's a Republican. And I've always been a Republican. I did vote for a Democrat one time. It was, I think, Reagan's second term. So in the primary, you know how we could pick which ballot to pull? So since I knew Reagan was going to be the nominee, I pulled the Democrat ballot and voted for Paul Tsongas. But really? I think that might have been the only, which he didn't win the primary. I think he ended up getting cancer before the vote or something. I don't remember. But
were both your parents Republicans?
I don't know who. My mom didn't talk about it.
No.
But my dad definitely was.
Yeah. So where can people find more information about you?
Well, most importantly, I want them to find out more information about Turning Point Action. And so...
Well, you're a state representative.
Yeah.
So you do take donations.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so why don't you plug that first?
Okay, so my website is Seacoast Rising. It doesn't have to do with global warming and the seas actually rising. No. It's about Seacoast Republicans coming together and making a difference. So seacoastrising.com is my website.
Okay.
They can donate there.
Okay.
But really consider two things. Consider getting involved with your town GOP because they need help. Consider running to be a state rep, especially if you have Democrats in there now from your town, because Turning Point Action is going to get out the vote. Even though your town might lean Democrat, we can get you over the finish line.
Can I ask you, when you ran?
Yes.
How much did you spend on your campaign?
I had some really good friends that donated to me. Most of the money probably went to signs and some to social media advertising. It was maybe $2,000 or $3,000. It wasn't very much.
It's not too bad.
No.
No. Okay. And then Turning Point.
And then, so the last part is, if you need a full-time job, this is amazing. Totally flexible hours. You can work, it is full-time, but you can work any hours you want, any days of the week you want. Your goals, because it's not running around knocking on as many doors as you can, it's about building relationships. So your goal is to connect with 10 people a day.
Okay.
And then you have a group of the voters that you're responsible for, and you track them and hopefully get them to vote in November. But 10 people a day, that's doable. You know, you don't have to feel like, you know, you have quotas. You're making friends with your neighbors.
Yep.
So it's going to be a fun job. You're going to make a huge difference. If that's what you want to do, then definitely apply. So it's tpaction.com/careers.
Okay. And is there anything else you'd like to add?
So Turning Point, if you want to apply, you need to have a warrior spirit. You need grassroots humility and persistent innovation. So if you have those three things, we want you.
All right. Linda, I want to thank you for coming in and doing the podcast.
Thanks for inviting me.
No problem. I hope you come back.
I will. Thank you so much.